In today's video, we will be diving into an unsolved murder from the 70s that still baffles people to this very day. And before I get into that, I will run through all the crap that I always go on at the beginning of these videos. Hello and welcome to my channel. I do scary fact, conspiracy or true crime videos, and I am also a horror artist, and I will draw something relating to the incident that I am talking about. I love drawing horror, so what better than to mix the two together and draw completely disturbing facts that have happened throughout history. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Isdal Woman, and this particular murder took place in Scandinavia back in the 70s. The Isdal Woman was the name given to an unidentifiable woman that was found dead at Isdalen in Bergen, Norway on the 29th of November 1970. Isdalen was also known as the Ice Valley and the Death Valley. This particular part of the country was very isolated and very cold. Her mysterious and weird death has sparked many theories over the years, as there are so many elements to her death, especially when Bergen was a small, peaceful town with low crime rate. Even today, it's still one of the most mysterious and unsolved deaths in Norwegian history. She appeared to be between the ages of 25 to 40 years old, but apparently she was closer to 40. She had black hair that was tied up in a ponytail. She was 164 centimeters tall. She had small ears, a round face, and brown eyes. A man and his two daughters were hiking in the foothills of the north face of Ulriken, known as Isdalen. I'm hoping I didn't butcher any of these towns, and I apologize if I have. Which was known for its suicides during the Middle Ages and also in recent decades. Also, hiking accidents were pretty common. Now, maybe they were hiking accidents. Were they really accidents, or was there some sort of supernatural power at work? Ooh. Okay, I'll get serious again now. While they were hiking, they could smell a weird burning smell, and one of the daughters then stumbled across the badly charred remains of the woman. The family got out of there pretty damn quickly, as you would, and went to town to notify police. Okay, so we will now go into the details. So there is a lot to unpack, so buckle up and here we go. When police investigated the area where she was found, they discovered she was only burned on the front of her body, not on her back. She was sprawled across some large rocks, and her arms were extended out and her fists clenched, basically like in a boxing pose. And I did research this, and apparently a lot of bodies that do get burnt on the front, apparently their arms do go up into a boxing pose. This is a pretty common thing. First of all, she was wearing a blue bubble jacket, knitted blue sweater, black trousers, and a brown faux fur cap. The objects found around her were jewelry and a watch, which were placed in a very ritualistic-like position around her body. There was also an umbrella, a few drink bottles, rubber boots, stockings, sleeping pills, a bottle of liquor, and a passport cover with no passport. Also, crackers or food was found with some plastic lids that maybe were related to the food containers. And there was also some traces of petrol around her, but there was no fire found, or campfire, I should say. A few days after her body was found, there was 2 suitcases found at the Bergen railway station which belonged to her, and they contained glasses with fingerprints on them that matched hers, clothes, several wigs, German and Norwegian money with Belgian, British, and Swiss coins. Hairbrush and comb, cosmetics, eczema cream with the name of her and her doctor both scratched off, and a coded note which ended up being nothing other than the places she had visited. Also, one of the most weirdest things about her belongings was that all tags were removed from her clothes, and anything that appeared to have her name on it was removed or etched out. So this is apparently what the autopsy report read. Her body was examined and found that she had a bruise on the right side of her neck. She had never been pregnant or has had a child. She had high amounts of carbon monoxide in her blood, and her lungs had smoke particles, which means that she was alive when she was burning. Oh my god, fucking ow. She also had about 50 to 70 sleeping pills in her system, but they had not been fully absorbed. So after this, they come to the conclusion that she had committed suicide, but no one believes that. Hell, I don't even believe that. She was definitely murdered. Her bottom jaw was removed and stored, which was later tested as technology advanced in the 2000s, so they reopened the case in 2016. She had distinct teeth. 14 of her teeth were gold crowns. This was unusual for someone of her age, and this was not dentistry found in Norway in that era. After testing was done, analysis showed that she must have possibly grown up around France and Germany because of certain elements found on her teeth that determines the water she drank. Now, this is actually a really interesting fact. So apparently there is tests out there that they can do on your teeth to actually find out where you spent most of your life. And that I find, I don't know how the hell they do that, but I'm going to have to delve into that. She was also pinned to have been born around 1926 to 1934. Dental work may have been done in Asia, South America, or Central Europe. Now, returning back to the note found that ended up being the places that she stayed. Now, the police went to the places and interviewed the witnesses. Some hotel staff remember her as being very attractive and smelling of garlic. All the hotels she had stayed at had different aliases that she used from several different passports. She had these fake passports that she checked in with, but no passports were ever found. I will recap on that later because there is some conflicting information with the passports. So apparently she spoke German, English, and Flemish and was seen allegedly dining with military personnel. She also requested to change rooms a lot at one of the hotels she was staying at, and she appeared to be quite on edge and aware of her surroundings. Whoever she was, she went to great lengths to disguise herself and hide her identity. I will start listing now all the different conspiracies that I have found linked to this case. Here we go. This is all the conspiracies that I could find. Number 1. She was a spy and committed espionage, hence why the 2 men she was seen with were military and dressed for harsh conditions. She existed around the Cold War time, and with the wigs, passports, no identity, it does seem to point that way. She was also very well travelled, which is very suspect as well. Number 2. It could have been a government cover-up. Yes, one of these types of murders is not immune to the government being mentioned. Cover-up for a gang-related murder or organised crime, as she was a member and she may have upset somebody. Number 3. She may have been a travelling escort or prostitute, hence the numerous disguises. Number 4, she suffered from a mental illness that made her paranoid and thought she was being pursued, so she ended her life in a ritualistic way to end the mental torture. That's a pretty fucked up way to go out if someone decided to do that. But anyway. Number 5. In 2019, a man came forward and said that she had passed him in the area on that day back in 1970, and she looked scared as she looked at him with 2 men in pursuit of her. Now the guy mentioned, and I'm probably going to butcher the absolute crap out of his name, was a man called Castell, and he had some inconsistent times in his story, but it may still be possible. So we'll give him a little bit of credit. Number 6. Conflicting evidence of the passports is floating around. This is what I was mentioning before. Some information on the internet out there says that they did find the passports and they found up to about 9 of them in her luggage, and some say no passports were found. So let me know if you know any more on this case in regards to the passport conflicts. I would really like to know. Number 7, she was a courier, and by this I mean someone who delivers information from spies to the espionage enemies. So apparently this is consistent with the characteristics she portrayed, such as the disguises, no ID, etc. I looked into this, and yeah, this is quite plausible, and this is really a case of shooting the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm going to just rattle off a few of my thoughts that I think may have happened. Now, some of these are going to seem batshit crazy, but these are purely my thoughts. I'm no doctor, scientist, investigator, but just from somebody who's just a normal person, just looking from the outside in. This is just some of the thoughts that rolled around in my head when I was researching this particular story. Now, the weird part of her death was the fact that her front was the only thing that was burnt, and nothing else was. Apparently the back of her was untouched. This, and hear me out, this could have been like a UFO encounter, something like that, because there was no campfire found. There was petrol found, but who knows, there could have been she may have had some sort of encounter that burnt her on the front, and she fell back onto the rocks. I am a person who likes to have some pretty concrete evidence for me to become a believer, but hey, stranger things have happened, and we are learning as we go through life that this world is not what we think it is. Or maybe back then there may have been some sort of, spontaneous human combustion, because our body is made up of 70% water. And as you will see if you delve into that, and it's quite frightening. I have a really tough time delving into spontaneous human combustion, because as a child I grew up absolutely terrified, thinking that I was going to burst into flames at any time. You'll see that some of the people who had suffered from spontaneous human combustion, they never fully burnt through, because our bodies were so dense with water. Like I said, I'm no doctor, I'm no scientist, but that's just what I'm thinking. But obviously the theory that I believe the most is that she was murdered. I do believe that she was murdered. It was made to look like a suicide to cover up tracks. I reckon she was forced to take these pills. She may have betrayed somebody, and they sent, like an equivalent to like a Men in Black to deal with her, hence the remote location, because they may have thought that she may not have been found and they tried to burn her to cover up evidence, but maybe it was that cold that only the front of her burnt. And you know, what better place to take her to is a popular suicide spot and scatter around some sleeping pills to make it look like she had offed herself, basically. No one ever came to identify her, kind of like the Somerton man case that I talked about a few months back, which was so sad, and I'm sort of seeing a lot of resemblance to that case. This poor woman apparently has had no family or relatives located with DNA, but they do have her organs and some other samples of her DNA, so they could keep testing it to hopefully find her identity. As obviously technology gets better and better, I'm hoping that they will be able to trace her family and find out who she is. She was buried in a zinc coffin to preserve her remains for future testing in 1971 at the Mollendale graveyard in Bergen. Now, the illustration that I did, I sort of really wanted to throw in a few of the elements that was linked to her, so I ended up throwing in like a suitcase with a wig and a bottle of water, her boots, which were a pretty defined boot, I thought, with a gas canister, and then I decided to do her as a sort of like a dressmaker marionette to sort of portray the fact that she has been coming up with so many different identities. And I had this idea to use the mannequin to represent that, because what do you do with a mannequin? You make a lot of dresses and you make a lot of things on a doll that is like a different sort of style or a different different dress, or sort of just linking back to the fact that she had a lot of disguises. I also wanted to include the blue jumper, the blue knitted jumper that was mentioned that she was wearing, and her black hair with a ponytail. But the biggest thing that I really wanted to do was have her pull her face off. So she is wearing this face that is hiding her real self. Now, I did her real self as kind of like a monster, because she may not have been an everyday person. She may have been caught up in some really sort of dodgy, seedy sort of work. She may have been a bad person, who knows? But I just wanted to try and cover a lot of elements to this case in this illustration. So that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this story. Like I said, let me know if you know any more about this case. Throw them at me in the comments below, because I love learning more about these cases. They're so intriguing. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!